pleasure for me to be here, an honor for me to be here. Thank you very much for your attendance. Let's see if we can get the slides to work. There we go. So, as Viki said, the title is "The Destination is the Journey." The journey. All right. We're going to start with a question. Where were you on June 25th, 1997? Wow. Most of us, that's probably a difficult question to answer. For some of you, however, you can. But I guarantee you one thing. For astronaut Mike Foale, the answer would come immediately, and this is why. First, a bit of the setting. Mir was a Russian space station orbiting in low Earth orbit from 1986 to 2001. Mike Foale was a U.S. astronaut. He flew on board Mir with 2 Russian cosmonauts in 1997. On June 25th, this happened.
On June the 25th, the crew had been instructed to test the manual docking system again. Sasha filmed the city during the events that followed.
He wasn't happy with the first attempt they'd made. He said this was a terrible event. He uses the word straszne. It was a nightmarish event that haunted him in a way. He wasn't any longer sure in his ability to pull this off.
The crew had spent the previous weeks packing another Progress cargo ship with Mir's rubbish. They were told to send the heavily laden Progress out into space and, as before, turn it around and redock it manually.
I was totally ignorant of what they were doing. I had no idea what they were doing. No one at NASA knew what the Russians were doing.
That was Mike Foale.
Once again, the city only had the monitor as his guide. This time, Mission Control was worried that the radar on the automatic docking system had caused the monitor to fail during the previous manual attempt. So they made a crucial decision. They switched the radar off.
I'm still thinking everything's normal because no one has told me anything about what systems were turned off or on.
Without the radar, the city wasn't given the cargo ship's speed or position. His only aid was the TV picture of Mir taken from Progress, but Mir was almost impossible to see.
Sasha and I, meanwhile, tried to look out a window and find his thing.
They planned to pinpoint the cargo ship with laser rangefinders pointed out of the portholes to give the city backup distance and speed information.
See now, was showing a little impatience for us to find it and see it and give him a range mark.
Sasha had left his camera pointed at the Toru monitor. This recording from his camera has just been released to Horizon.
Things had gone wrong, very badly wrong. The range and the speed had been horribly misjudged.
Почему она так летит? Я чувствую, что как будто нет торможения. То есть я торможу, а торможения нет. Смотрю, как этот грузовик проносится под нами, под иллюминатором.
Sasha looked extremely agitated, stood up and first came erect and said, "Michael, выкарабкал to the spacecraft."
Я говорю, Майкл, в корабль. Майкл отсюда полетел туда.
That order that Sasha gave me, выкарабкал. Don't stay and try and help us. Don't let us use your expertise. Don't let us do anything with you. Just get out of the way to the spacecraft.
довольно умным, грозным. И вижу, как вот это вот черное тело с вкраплением проносится подо мной, я прищуриваюсь и говорю, вот это значит, мощный там удар, вырезает станцию.
I felt through my fingers a shudder, a thump on the station, and I heard what seemed to be far off, a ka-thump. At that point, I knew we had been hit by the progress.
Здесь сработала сигнализация, разъехал станции, начал падать давление и начал закрутка станции.
The progress had smashed into the solar panels. Mir was now slowly spinning out of control, and decompression had begun.
Для этого нужно было определить резервное время, которое есть на случай разминеризации, давление 540. Это миллиметр ртутного столба, которое является критическим в этой ситуации. После этого давления, если оно ниже упало и не покинуло эти станции, то человек может потерять сознание в любой момент.
Sasha thought he had seen the progress punch a hole in one of Mir's modules, called Spectre. He knew he had to seal off the Spectre module, or the loss of air would kill them.
Было чувство времени вот такое. Причем вот какая-то шла борьба. Вот надо быстрее по времени успеть, обогнать время.
Vasily was basically monitoring the pressure fall on a very sensitive instrument, a barometer, in the base block, and it stayed at its central post there. While he was doing that, we came into the range of the ground stations, the Russian ground station. He told them that we had been hit. They asked him, "Is there a problem?" He said, "Yes, we are leaking air."
Mir, Michael and Sasha had to close the hatch between the main module and Spectre to stop the decompression. To do this, they were forced to disconnect the power cables running through the hatchway.
For the first time, I experienced a totally silent, still space station where there are no fans moving, there is no light on, nothing is alive. Just our breathing is causing any sound.
With Mir out of control, they couldn't keep the solar panels facing the sun. Everything had shut down, even radio contact with Earth.
Back on the ground and heard of that accident. So about a month after I got back. Terrible news.
That's John Leninger. He was the U.S. crewman or astronaut. I'm sorry. That was the gentleman at the end here. That's John Leninger. He was the astronaut on board Mir prior to Mike Foale. He also had a near-death experience. They had a tremendous fire on board Mir, and he was very lucky, to have survived that mission. And you can see the emotion in him when he's talking about what happened with Mike. These were not good days at NASA. We seem to be having mistake after mistake after mistake. So, not good days. Well, here's the urgency of the situation if you didn't get it already. They're losing breathing air. They're dropping internal pressure. I don't know if you picked up. If the pressure goes down to 540 millibars, they pass out. And the pressure dropped below 600, so it was on its way to that point. Very importantly, they had a lot of difficulty closing that hatch that sealed off the module that was leaking. In fact, the story I've heard is they actually used a Swiss Army knife to cut the power cables, which were live, but that's how they had to do it to get the catch closed. And then, because they cut the power cables, power's going off, you know, and so it's totally black, no noise, no nothing. And even worse, if you can say even worse, the mirror was spinning out of control. And nobody really knew how to get it back under control so that the panels would be pointing towards the sun and they could regain power. Mike Foale played a very instrumental position in role in making that spacecraft secure again, which is very unusual because this is very early in the shuttle mirror program, and we treated the cosmonauts as second-class citizens when they flew on shuttle. They treated our astronauts as second-class citizens, giving them menial jobs to do. So the fact that Mike was instrumental in saving the Mir space station is very important and did a lot towards helping our relationships with the Russians. But here's the question for today's talk. Was Mir Mike's journey or his destination? Well, certainly it was his destination, since he applied to be an astronaut 3 times before he was finally accepted. And he finally got in, and he was the 3rd choice for this mission because the first crew member they picked was too tall and didn't fit in the Soyuz spacecraft. These are U.S. astronauts I'm talking about. The second astronaut was a woman, Wendy Lawrence. She was too small to work the EVA suits, and there were EVA missions. So he was actually, on his 3rd attempt, he gets in, and then he's actually the 3rd pick, you know, for this mission. So it was a destination, no doubt about it, but you can see what happened to him at that destination. He began a journey that led him to his next destination. His destination, Mir, became part of the journey. In 2003, 6 years after this happened, Mike became commander of the International Space Station. That's the space station that is orbiting the Earth right now. So talking about journeys and destinations, there are several quotes that are important that I like. The first one by Henry David Thoreau. When you achieve your dreams, destination, it's not so much what you get as who you have become in achieving them. This is often attributed, this quote is often seen or listed as the real first quote on journey and destination. I like the next one though, Plutarch. He said, what we achieve inwardly on the journey will change outer reality. So, from my perspective, and part of my message to you today, is it is our journeys that form our character and that what actually allows us to experience the destination when we get there. Each and every journey obviously involves obstacles. You know that. It's how we respond to these obstacles that is of great importance. Have you ever heard of Diana Nyad? Tremendous lady. She tried in her 20s 4 times to swim from Cuba to Key West or to the Keys. She failed each and every time for a number of different reasons. She also has asthma, by the way. When she was 64, she successfully made the trip. 53 hours in the ocean without being able to touch a boat. Okay? An enormous feat. Her mantra became find a way. If you can see her, she has a video on TED. I highly recommend that you look it up and listen to it. At part of that video, she says, well, how much life is left out there? you know. We're all on a one-way street. We all are on a one-way street. So what are you going to do so that you don't look back with regret? She says, if you keep trying, when you hit an obstacle, and all of us hit obstacles, all of us, if you keep trying, if you get back up and believe that perseverance is a great human quality, then you will find your way. On the morning of her successful attempt, her coach put his arm around her and said, Diana, let's find a way to Florida. And off they went. So, this is kind of a summary of my points that I hope you have gotten. Life is a continuum of journeys, right? Continuum. We're always trying to go somewhere, do something, achieve some goal. But a destination, it's but a waypoint along our journey. Soon as you get to that destination, you start another journey to your next destination. So it's a continuum flow. Happiness, in my opinion, requires that we recognize and embrace the journey, not just the destination, okay? It's the journey that is important because it forms our character and allows us to experience what we experience. So recognize the journal and embrace the journey. I'm going to leave you with this well-known quote from Teddy Roosevelt. He said, it's not the critic who counts. The credit belongs to the man who is in the arena, whose face is marred by sweat and blood, who at the best knows the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst fails while daring greatly. His place will never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. Thank you. My name is Dane Russo.
Thank you so much, Dane. But before you go, we have some gifts for some of our people here who would be lucky enough to receive them. Okay. So Dane has been in 2 of our books. We've been so fortunate to have him contributing. And one of those books was from last year, and it was My Big Idea book. So if you want to throw one of those out, we will see that someone gets that book, Dane.
Ready? Oh! Tommy? Patty?
Okay, so we'll get that book down to you, but we also have some wonderful things from NASA, Houston Space Center. So if you'd like to throw another piece out. Okay, so that's going to go to the lucky lady there. And then we have one more, and I love this so much. It's a shirt from NASA that says, failure is not an option.
That's quotes from a flight director. Houston was recently flooded. The gentleman that said that had to be rescued from his home by his daughter in a boat because of the flooding.
All right, and that is for Linda there in the red. And for you, Dane, thank you so much for your contribution to the world today.